Should be good. So welcome. I'm Yaron, and we also have Mary here in the room, and we have 4 students here in classroom and 11 of you at home. So that's great. This session is about experiential learning, which is a requirement for you guys to complete the program of the Business Scholar. And we've done a session like that in October. Some of you may have participated or watched the video, and we wanted to do it again. The one we did in October, we had some guest speaker who were asked to join and talk. And this one, I'm going to do mostly the presentation on my own with the help of Mary, of course, based on that session we had in October. So this one is kind of what we want to talk about. As you know, as part of your experiential learning component for your program, you need to do one of those 3 courses that are listed in yellow here. Either the research in industry, which is $4.99, or $5.99, which is the reading and research, kind of the thesis statement, the academic paper, or the study abroad. So the goal of this meeting is kind of to talk about some option. As you see, there are some bullet points within each of those 3 options. We're also going to talk briefly towards the end about the scholarship that you guys are eligible to get once you commit to one of those 3 options. And at the end, I'll have a Q&A session if you have any question or concern. Some of the programs, as you see, the top one, the $4.99 and $5.99, needs to have my approval as the program director. Sometimes you'll have to find a faculty member that needs to support you, so we'll talk about it. This is kind of the goal here, is by the time we finish this, you have enough information, and you'll get a copy of these slides, and this video will be posted on the website in case you want to rewatch it or find out additional information. So this is the plan for today. Before I actually go into the material, anybody have any question or concerns? All good? Hopefully people at home can hear me. So let's jump right into it. So if you go to the Scholar website, there is this section that we created talking about the Scholar experiential learning. And there is a link to that video with my picture, but this is the actual recording from October that we had. And the idea is that within a couple of days, we're going to replace that old video with this latest video recording that we're doing right now. And as listed here at the bottom of the screen, students should choose one of those following options. And these are the 3 options that I mentioned. So today we're going to talk about each and every one of those options. And eventually, at some point, and some of you already been through this process, you'll make your decision which of the 3 you want to do. And you're going to start collecting some information or apply to a program if it's a study abroad. And then you go and you click on that link at the bottom of the screen to start your application. And the application does a couple of things. First of all, it lets Mary and myself know that you're kind of committing to one of those options. Maybe you found a faculty advisor, you picked a topic, you got accepted to a certain program for study abroad. So that's one thing kind of for us to have to keep track of who is doing what. And the second thing it does, as there is a scholarship involved here, the $500 that I mentioned, this is also a signal to Mary to kind of try to start working with the admissions office or registration, I don't know who handled it, the scholarship coordinator office, to kind of let them know that this student has committed to do this thing. And of course, the process of getting that scholarship will get into play here. I have attended class now. Where can I access the recording? Oh, I have to attend class. Okay, so this recording, as I mentioned, will be posted under the Scholar Experiential Learning Project. It's going to replace the one that is currently there from October. I don't know how fast we can do that. Hopefully, maybe by Monday, but I'll have to work with the technical people to make sure to upload that there. So if you need to leave this, good luck with your class. I'm going to continue here. So this is the application. This is basically what you're going to see when you click on that link. And just today or yesterday, we made some minor modifications. So basically, the first content here on the right, on the left-hand side, you're going to put some of your demographic information, your name, your major, phone number, etc. And then you're basically going to have to pick one of those 3 options that are listed here on the top right. And based on that selection, every click on one of those options is going to change slightly the content at the bottom of the screen that you see here. So this content, we already started updating it to the bottom. So for example, if I select study abroad, it's only going to show me what content I need to upload for study abroad, which specifically is the acceptance letter from the Center for International Education. That email that I received that says, congratulations, you've been accepted to the study abroad, going to France or Germany or Asia or wherever you go. If you choose, for example, 499, which is the research in industry, it's going to ask you to provide information of your supervisor or things of that sort. If you click on the reading and thesis, it's going to ask you to talk a little bit about your study. What is it you want to study? Give some information about that topic. So this is the application, and as I mentioned, it's we did make some changes in the last. Mary has been did some changes that are very useful for students, so you don't get confused. What do you need to upload into that website? So now I want to kind of dive in each of those options in detail. So the first one we're going to talk about is research in industry. So this is basically an internship or working with a company and getting credit for this. So what does it mean? So first option you have is to work with the Center of Communication, Community-Based Learning, Leadership and Research, CIBLR as they call themselves in short. And basically they offer two types of program. One of them is called CLIP, and the other one is a new program I'm going to show you in the next slide. It's called SSTPI, and both program those of those program basically provide students with internship-like opportunity when they actually earn money for their involvement working with that company. They're being supervised and they're doing community service along the way. In a month or so ago in February, we have Elise come in and give a talk for almost 30 minutes talking about these in detail. And this link is also available on our Scholar website. Specifically, as you see the bottom image here on the bottom right hand side of the screen, is that presentation when Elise came and talked about it. You can find it under the curriculum session. And she talks about it in details. I have a couple slides here, and I know they're going to be busy ones. First of all, the people involved. So this is Elise here on the left-hand corner. She's working with a coordinator with the CIBLR group. We also have the director, Lori, Ben, who is also involved with this. And we have Jacqueline, who is the coordinator for this new program that's called SSTPI. And some links here. So let me show you. And I know this is a very busy slide. I don't expect you to memorize or read everything here, but this is kind of a table comparing those two programs. And the one that has been around for a long time is the CLIP. This is stand for Community Leaders in Internship Program. This is a standard internship, but in order to be eligible to participate in a CLIP, you have to have the federal work study designation. In other words, you need to have this designation as a student that you're eligible for federal work study. If you don't have authorization to be part of the federal work study, you cannot do a CLIP program. And again, in the case of CLIP, usually you work around 10 hours a week, you get paid for it. And again, many times it's considered to be 2 semesters, the fall and the spring, but in some special occasion, you can have kind of, as long as the company agrees for you to do it for 1 semester, you can do that and get credit for it. In the case of the SSTPI, this is a new program that they want to start in the fall. And the main difference is this doesn't require you to be in the federal work study. So everybody eligible. The goal for that program is to kind of increase diversity and give opportunity to other students. Again, similar like with hours, maybe a bit more, 10 to 15 hours. And again, you get paid for it a bit more than you would if you do the CLIP option. And their goal is to place 100 students from different diverse backgrounds into those paid internship. And again, 2 semester long, fall and spring, with the option that maybe the company can agree to do only 1 semester. And one more difference between the CLIP and the SSTPI. The CLIP is usually targeted at non-profit, smaller organizations in the community. The difference is that the SSTPI is working much more with the larger corporations, for profits. So it's kind of a different way. And if you do want to get more information about it, I do recommend you watch that video that I mentioned. And I have an additional slide here with some links and timelines. And again, just remember that the SSTPI, it's still in being developed and only planned to start in August. And again, Elise is probably the best contact person. If you want to hear more information in detail, Elise or Ben will be happy to help you. And of course, this slide deck will be shared with you as well. So if you will need to get access to any of the links or more information, you can do that. So this is the first option, service learning component within CLIP or SSTPI. Another option, again, this is an example from a former student. Megan, she did a project with Dr. Staffold, kind of writing a paper with academic and practical effect or components. And when she talked a little bit about that in the video I mentioned from October, she provided this quote: pick something that you can market in your career, something that's going to be helpful for you, and you can do that and get credit for that research in industry. The third option here is to work with Jeff Tormel. Jeff Tormel is our Director of Business Engagement, has worked in the supply chain industry for 3 or so decades, and he runs 2 programs that give students opportunities to work with companies. One of them is called the Industry Connect program, and the second one is the Lubar Supply Chain Management Institute. And I included his information here. In short, Industry Connect is, again, a connection that's made between a student at UWM and a local company. The companies are actually paid for for UWM, and UWM is the one who's actually hiring the students to do the work. This is project-based. So the idea is that it's been supervised and it focuses entirely on project deliverables. So nobody's going to ask a student to make coffee or to move things from the mailbox. This is a project-based. Those companies contact us to say, we have some challenges. We need students to work on some things related to the industry. This can be an individual project, or this can be a group project. But again, those opportunities are handled through Jeff. And if anybody interested to learn more about this program, you can either contact him or through me or Mary, try to find the contacts to find an opportunity. Second one is more specific for students of supply chain. Jeff Tormel, together with the professor, associate director of the program, Mark Cosfield, they again work with local companies. You see some examples here with the icons, and they're trying to kind of create those projects for supply chain. So this is another opportunity, and all these are under the umbrella of that research in industry option. So this is mainly for students who want to spend their summer and again, in some cases, the fall and the spring, working for a company, gaining experience, earning some money, and making connection in the field. There is another option that we're looking in. It's not quite available yet, but if there is interest from students, we can create a full course with a service learning component. We can work with a sibler, and in order to do that, we need anywhere from 3 to 25 students. We're going to create a syllabus, and what's critical here, if anybody is interested in this option, you need to kind of commit early. It's not going to happen within a couple of weeks. So you need to tell us a few months ahead. For example, if you want to do something like that in the fall, this is the time for us to start planning for this. And myself and Mary will need to identify a faculty member that's going to supervise. And this is an option as well, to find a local companies where a group of students can work on an activity and through one semester and getting that full credit for that course. So these are a lot of options for $4.99. The next one I want to talk about, and actually let me pause here. Anybody have any question about $4.99, about research in industry, or what I shared so far? All good. So I want to move to the second option, which is $5.99, which is kind of the traditional academic paper. This is oftentimes chosen with students who want to go to graduate school, want to have a career in academia, or just have a topic that are very interested about and want to investigate in much detail, and they'll work with the faculty. So this is not on your own. This is supervised by a faculty member. One student who did that was Annika a couple semesters ago, and you see the topic she wrote about. And many times these are students, as I mentioned, that want to continue their education or just know much more about a specific topic. And in her case, this is in accounting. And the key point here is to identify faculty member that will agree to supervise you, that will have the knowledge to support you throughout this project. And even though you do it in a certain semester, for example, that can be a fall semester, there is no restriction as far as selecting the topic early, starting to collect articles and information before, even starting writing it, which you can do even during the summer, and then you sign up for the course in the fall and get the full credit for it. So Mary, go ahead. Here, this one.
Just a couple things I want to add about this one that I'm finding talking to students who are already starting to use this as their experiential learning and talking to faculty. The way you might want to approach this is if this is the option you're going to select is in the spring, start connecting with a faculty member and come up with like your topic, your thesis, talk with a faculty member and come to an agreement on that. And then work on it over the summer. We'd enroll you in the class in the fall, and specifically Annika did this. What she did is she followed that route and then finished her paper by midterm, so that she was kind of done with this class, done with that project, did the bulk of the work over the summer with respects to the research. And really by the time she was coming into the fall semester, she was writing the draft of her research paper. That seems to be something that's really attractive to faculty because it gets a responsibility from them, off their plate before finals. So if you're going to do this approach, I would say present that as a possibility to the faculty member if that's something that would work for you. If you've got time over the summer to do kind of the bulk of the research at that time.
Thank you. Yes, thank you to Mary. And final comment I'll add here. In some cases, professors want to do research to publish and to present the research. And this can be a good collaboration to eventually even lead to a publication in a journal or going to a conference. So again, you don't have to. The requirement is just to write the paper and to present it. But that can be a collaboration with that instructor, that professor, as far as even getting a publication or being involved with their research even beyond this. And many professors will like that option to have students that will help. So again, if you're looking for a faculty member, the best match is to kind of find our faculty from the business scholars and their area of expertise. If you want to write something about management, I would probably be the best person to start talking about who can supervise me, so I can help you identify if you're doing accounting, maybe with Laura, statistics, maybe Professor Richer, and etc. And I also have a slide, another accounting professor who has kind of volunteered to support you. We will help you find that faculty member if that's something you're struggling with. Ideally, that's somebody that's researching something that's of interest to you and agree to do that, of course. And Dr. Brown has been very supportive as far as helping you guys. If you're accounting students, you can also contact her and she will try to find a good match for you. And I think, Zach, you mentioned that you're working with her and she's helping at least one student to set up their project. So this is $5.99. The main difference from $4.99, which was the researching industry, $5.99 is more academic based, basically writing a paper with a faculty member, more traditional thesis, and some students may choose this. Any question here before I move into the third and final option? All good? Sure, go ahead.
In talking with students, a lot of people have been hesitant about $5.99 because they're thinking, well, I'm not going on to get my master's or that. Why would I do a research paper? But actually, if you're doing research, it's something that you can really talk to when and speak about during interviews. You know, if you've investigated something and researched it in your industry, you know, that gives you a huge talking point during interviews. So think a little bit outside the box. While it's academic, there may be advantages to you doing a reading and research.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, the faculty member will support you follow with that. Okay, and the third option, and I would guess that most of you guys are going to choose this option, is a study abroad, which gives you kind of international experience together with an interesting trip. I do want to mention that this is just going on a study abroad program is not going to give you that experiential learning component. What I mean by that, you have to do something extra in order to be counting this as I did my business scholar component. So a business scholar going to study abroad is not going to be the same as a non-business scholar. And the difference is a journal that we're going to ask you to do. And I'm going to talk about that option. So first of all, I put this slide together. Currently, there are 4 programs in the Lubar School of Business. The one that's going fast quickly here is in a couple of weeks, the trip to Europe, to Germany specifically, which was initially scheduled for January, got postponed because of COVID, and they are planned to go, I think, in a week from now. This is, of course, the application is already completed, and if you are not part of that trip, you won't be able to join it. But next year, this is planned to be happening back in January, which is the wintering semester. And usually they go for 12 days or so. And when they go in January, usually the application due date is October. The second one that's going next, this is going to be over the summer break. Dr. Freimark is going to France. This is a program that's been going on for many years. Last year it was canceled because of COVID, and this year they're back to going again. Same thing about application. If you're not part of that program, you already missed the deadline. This was March 1st, but you can apply for the following year, which they're going to plan to go again in May. Singapore is another one that is showing some good interest, going with Dr. Levitas. They're planned to go to Singapore in August, usually around 10 days. And the due date, this year, it's quite early, so it's within a week or so. So if you're interested in this, you have to kind of move fast here. Maybe contact Dr. Levitas, and I'll give some information about each of those programs. And finally, the program that we initiated to Panama didn't work out this year, partially because of COVID, partially because of we started kind of late and didn't have enough students who were committing to it. But we're planning to go next spring break, which is a year from now, and possibly the application due date will be around October. And what's different about this program is that this is kind of targeted specifically at business scholars. So we are hoping that most of the students, most of the people who actually attend are business scholar, but we are opening to other students in the Lubar School that are not scholar, but we will put a focus on a business scholar to travel as a cohort if you're interested in this program. As far as the extra information that I mentioned, so besides the content that is provided by the instructor, the faculty advisor, sometimes they'll have you do exams or collect information. You'll have to do, and this is the policy kind of we put together late last year, a journal. And the journal is not something very complicated. You're basically kind of collecting your experiences. If you go for a trip to 10 days, you're expected to write a journal entry every single day, talking about the culture and what you experience and what you actually get to see. No APA or external sources or anything like that. It's mostly your own reflection on the trip itself. And eventually it's going to go either to myself or to the faculty leader of that program. So Dr. Amit or Dr. Freimark. And basically it's a pass-fail option. So you don't get an actual A, B, C, D grade on it. But if you don't do well, the faculty member can kind of push it back to you and say, this is not acceptable, I cannot do it, and maybe you'll need to do a rewrite. But ideally, that should not be something very complicated. You do it throughout your trip, come back, and then within a couple of weeks after your return, you can submit it and get credit. This is going to be the experiential learning components that count for the business scholar. In other words, if you're going to study abroad and you don't do that, it won't count towards the experiential learning. So just be aware of this, and all the leaders that I just mentioned from those programs have received this file, and we're going to start using it, I guess, next week when the students who go to Germany will be the first one to actually use this policy or this procedure. And again, any question, myself and Mary are listed at the bottom. Yes, go ahead.
When we apply for the study abroad and we go on the scholarship website, how early before the trip do we actually have to say that we're going to do the journal? Is there like a deadline, or is it as long as we notify you that we're doing it before we leave?
So do you mean that you may go to study abroad, but you don't want to count it towards the
No, I
scholar?
mean, like on the scholars website, you know how you said like you put in all your information and you
Mhm.
choose what class you're taking for your experiential.
Right.
And if I'm going on the France trip, when should I fill out that form on the scholar? Is there a deadline for that, or is it just like as long as it's
As long,
before?
you will receive a letter at one point from the CIE say, welcome to the program, you've been accepted. Once you have that letter, you can already start and apply.
Okay.
As long as, even a day before that trip, literally you can do that, right? But
Yeah.
the earlier you can, that's the better.
Okay.
Okay, so this is about that. And again, some more information. I'm not going to talk in length about it. And as I mentioned, at least the Germany and the French one are not relevant for this year. It's only for next year. So some of the information may have changed. But again, next time that they're going to go to Germany or maybe other places in Europe will be in the winter of 2023. There is a website that they maintain, the information for Dr. Batnagar, of course. Some pictures from previous trips they took to Germany. Dr. Freimark, as I mentioned, already have their application due date passed for this year. So the next time they'll go will be May of next year. And again, this year is in May 23rd to June 2nd. Again, some pictures, and I listed here some highlights. So Dr. Freimark recorded a video for the session we had in October, kind of talking a little bit about the trip. And these are some of the things that he mentioned. So they're doing 8 nights in Paris, 2 nights in Cannes. They're doing a lot of corporate visit to the US Embassy, going to Normandy, kind of the D-Day for the Second World War. For the first time, this time they're going to go to a factory of Louis Vuitton, the handbag company, and do that. And they're also visiting a business school in France. So this is a program that has been established and going successfully every year, except for last year because of COVID. And now hopefully they're back to normal. So, oops, this is the typo at the back, should be number 3 here. So the third option is the Asian program. And this one is with Dr. Levitas. As I mentioned, the due date is coming up in a week or so. So if you're interested, you have to kind of move fast. I know they had some information session that they have. And some notes here. So Singapore has the second largest port in the world because of its location. And again, they're planning to visit General Electric, the US embassies, and other corporate visits. And again, being kind of in that key location as far as the South Chinese Sea, $5 to $6 trillion of goods going through that, one of the major kind of location as far as supply chain and movement of products across the world. So this is the program for Singapore, some pictures that Ed provided here. So looks to be a great trip, a bit, again, further away than other programs. And again, each program has its own cost depending on the number of days, the location. One of the things that I try to do when I plan the Panama trip is to kind of make it more economically available for students and kind of cutting on the cost because it's kind of closer than going to Europe and cheaper in Central America than going to Singapore or France or Germany. So if finance is a factor, a major factor, make sure you evaluate those programs also based on their cost. And again, this specific cost, when Ed talked about us, the estimate was around $3,000 to $4,000, which is a bit more expensive than the trips to Europe and much more expensive than a trip to Central America. But again, these things change, so I don't want to provide exact numbers when I don't have it. They'll have to kind of put the numbers together and let students know. So please contact Ed if you have question or you want to hear more information about this trip. And finally, as I mentioned, the Panamanian trip now is planned for next spring break. As I mentioned, specific for the business scholars, but non-scholars can also attend. And these were the company we wanted to visit. So I put it as a tentative list because this list may change. But again, trying to have almost every day of the week visiting a company or two. These are some companies that have their headquarters in Panama, which many times act as a kind of a hub for a lot of companies in Latin America. And this was again the plan of the actual trip. And this will of course change by the time we're gonna revise it for next year, but just wanted to show kind of what we were planning to do. And again, right now, this is a year from now. So if you have interest, we'll do some session later this year. And these are pictures that I took when I visited Panama a couple of times. A very advanced place. Most people don't think of skyscraper and technology when they think about Panama. I remember my surprise first time when I got to Panama City and seeing kind of how advanced, and of course the Panama Canal, which is a big thing, and you can visit the canal and see how it works and hear about the history of it. And the Panamanians are very proud to have control of the canal, which was passed to them a couple decades ago from the US government. So before I can talk about scholarship, any questions about those study abroad? So again, I mentioned Germany, France, Singapore, and Panama. Those are the four that we have, and the goal is to have those kind of on a periodic schedule every year. So every year, the European trip should happen in winterim, and then the Panama should happen in spring break, and then France should happen in the summer, and then Asia should happen in the end of August, September. So this is kind of what we want to do, kind of for periodic schedule every single year. Anybody have questions about this? Okay, so I'm finishing up here, kind of talking about the scholarship that I mentioned. So there is support for this experiential learning. This is another benefit for being in the Business Scholar Program. You're eligible for a 500 scholarship. As I mentioned, for us, one of the ways to start the process of this application is when you apply for the program to that application that I show. And again, if you're planning on using that money for your travel abroad, please don't. In other words, we don't know exactly when the money will be deposited, so don't count on having $500 cash in your hand for that trip. And of course, if you are, the funds will go toward your post account, so it's going to pay for your courses or for your expenses that you have with school. And of course, if you are dropping a program or doesn't work out for any reason, those money will be rescinded, and you'll have to kind of do it again and apply for something different. So this is the plan and the process. Again, once you do the application, you're going to select one of those three options, 498, 499, or 599. Then you're going to get awarded that scholarship when you register for that class, when you enroll in that class. And when you complete it, that money should be deposited to your account. So that's all I have. Any question, concern, comments, anything that I mentioned? Mary, anything else I missed? Yeah, I'm looking. There is nothing on the chat. You guys are in the chat. Please feel free to enable your microphone or write something in the chat. Go ahead.
So we just have to complete this sometime before we graduate. It was maybe like 2 years, sometime before.
Yes, there is no exact. Most people do it either their junior or senior year, but there is no restriction as long as it's before you graduate. Yes. And another tip I would say, have a backup plan. In other words, if the only thing left for me to do is to go to the Singapore trip, and I count on this and I put all my eggs in that basket, and eventually something happened, I don't know, the terror alert in that area, COVID, the pandemic, something happened, the group didn't have enough students, you want to have a backup plan. So what do I do in that case? So I don't want to kind of that thing to be the only thing that holds you from graduating. So maybe your backup plan can be, I'm going to write a paper and I already found a faculty member that say they're going to help. So you can kind of switch in case something like that happens. Any other question, concern? All good. So a lot of information is available online. As I mentioned, we will post this video recording together with the slide deck in case you want to review information, additional information. And in any given moment, Mary and I are here to help, support, and help you in any way we can. Okay.
One of the things,
Go ahead.
If you haven't scheduled an advising appointment for this semester and you want to see me, I'm starting to book up. So make sure you go on Navigate and schedule an appointment or stop in our office and our office staff can help you.
Okay, thank you. Last chance, question, comments, concerns? All good? So enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend. And thank you for attending.